In this video, I'll show you how you can improve your edge highlighting. Hi everyone, and welcome to another brushstroke painting guide. So this time I thought I'd do a really short video just on the specifics of edge highlighting. Since I painted my Raven Guard, I've had a lot of people asking just the process I use for painting my edge highlights, so I thought a short video might help you guys out. But before we start, just a really quick thank you to everyone who's subscribed to the channel so far. Your support is really appreciated. If you're new to the channel and you've not had a chance to subscribe yet, then please do hit that subscribe button and don't forget to click the notification bell to be told whenever I post a new video. For the purpose of this video, the model has already been base coated with flat black from scale 75, and I've already done an edge highlight of Eclipse Grey from scale 75, just so you can see the edges that we're working with. Okay, so what is edge highlighting? Well, basically it's the process of picking out the highest points or the edges of a model to make them brighter and lighter to stimulate the light hitting those edges more and bringing more interest and detail to your model. So using this Space Marine boot as an example, I'm just going to show you a few things that I do which I think helps and has improved my edge highlighting, and I hope it'll do the same for you. Starting out with your brush, and for this I recommend you use a brush that has a really sharp point, and that's because we're going to be doing fine detail. It doesn't have to be the smallest brush in the world. I tend to use a 00 just because I don't like to hold too much paint, but above all else it has to have a nice sharp point. The next thing you're going to need is you're going to need a nice strong stable painting position, and for this what I recommend you do is you put both your elbows on the table and then you use your model hand to support your painting hand. You lock those in and that makes a nice strong triangle, and it's this that gives you a stable painting position for doing ultra fine detail and minimizing all those shakes. The next thing you're going to want to consider is the angle of your brush. So when we're painting these edge highlights, especially if it's a nice sharp corner, like for example the edge of this cork, what I can do is I can hold my brush at a 45-degree angle, and then I can just run the sides of the brush along, and that will paint a nice sharp edge highlight across the top. And we can do that on our model too. So for example on this bottom edge of the boot here, I can just angle my brush so that I can run it nice and steadily across the bottom of that boot. Varying the angle that you use for your paintbrush will actually vary the result of the edge highlight you get. A higher angle will give you a thicker line across the top, and a shallower angle will give you a thicker edge highlight around the side. Okay, so now we're ready to put some paint on the model, and we've thinned it down, but we want to make sure that it's going to go on as we expect it to. How do we make sure this happens? Well, best way to do is test it. Now you can do this on your palette, or you can do it on the back of your hand like this. So I have some flat black, and I'm just going to draw the paint down to just check that it's going to behave how I want it to on the model. If you find it's not going on smoothly or it leaves brush marks, then you can add a touch more water. If you find it's bleeding out and not keeping a crisp line, then you can thicken it up. And by testing this way, it should mean that you don't get any nasty surprises when you start painting your highlights on your model. Okay, let's put it into practice. So I have a sharp tip to my brush, my hands are stabilizing each other, I've chosen the angle I'm going to use, and I've tested the paint so I know how it will behave, and now I can paint my highlight. As I'm pressing the brush to the model, I'm trying to touch it as lightly as possible, so it's just enough to let the paint flow onto the edge, but not enough so it flows out of control. Okay then, that looks pretty good. Let's do another one. Okay, this time this isn't as easy. So I've got the best angle I can, but I'm going to have to use that sharp tip just to pick out that edge as gently as I can. I've tested the paint so I know how it will behave, and I've got as stable a position as I can with my hands. Okay, that's not so bad. So now I'm just going to do exactly the same thing, but just with a downward stroke. So I'm trying to be as gentle and as light as I can, so it doesn't bother me that I don't get it first time, because I'd rather get it just right than apply too quickly. And seeing as I've already hit that edge, I might as well just finish off that horizontal one as well. But what if you do all these things and it still doesn't go how you want? Well, the answer is don't panic. Always finish the edge that you're working on and let it dry fully, because you can just correct it later. This highlight's gone on far thicker than I meant it to, so I'm just going to finish it off and let it dry fully, and then I'll come back with some of the flat black and neaten it up to the width that I want. So by using some of the black of the base coat, I'm now just going to neaten up that edge. Again, I'm taking advantage of the stable structure of my hands supporting each other, so I can be as neat as possible. There we go, much better. As one last example, there will be occasions where you want to put an edge highlight on a surface which is quite smooth, like this toe cap. In these circumstances, I find that the best approach really is to try and follow the line of the highlight that you want as best you can, and then refine that back in again with your base colour to make it nice and neat. Okay, that's it. That's my tips for helping improve your edge highlighting. As a quick recap, it's keep your hands together to form a nice strong, stable structure for your painting. Always use a brush with a nice sharp tip. Test your paints before putting them onto your model, either on the back of your hand or on your palette. Consider the angle of your brush when choosing what type of edge highlight you want. And above all else, don't worry if it doesn't quite go right, because you can always correct it later. Thanks very much for watching this video. I really hope you found it useful. If you have, then please do give it a like and maybe drop a comment below. If you'd like to see more of these videos, then hit that subscribe button. But in the meantime, thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.